Hello, my name is Dr. Maryann DiEdwardo. I am presenting a paper on the film Roma. Roma presents fire, water, and earth and air at risk. In this presentation, I am going to compare the dynamic city of Mexico City and the country, the beautiful country of Mexico. Our senses can feel in this film. We can feel tragedy. Through the lens of hermeneutics and semiotics, we consider cultural poetics in the film Roma. The director, Alfonso Cuarón, portrays the injustice of the suffering of the main character, Cleo. He engages viewers to explore archetypical cultural milieu in Mexico in 1970. Moreover, as a reflective inquiry, hermeneutics, or the study of atheia, the Greek word for unhiddenness, reveals truth. Through use of hermeneutic arc, this researcher interprets literary works and film as visual literature. Roma. This paper presents an argument concerning the cinematography in the film. The portrayal of Mexico City in the 1970s signifies that the historical study ignites a symbolic representation of the director's vision. The character Cleo, played by Yalitza Aparicio, who was nominated for Best Actress, is the signifier of suffering that took place in 1970 and 71 in Mexico City. She is the symbolic representation of the early life of director Alfonso Cuarón. Through specific cinematography techniques such as camera angle, black and white aesthetic, autobiographical reminiscences, and cinematic narrative, Cuarón designs a masterpiece. In fact, Bill Desowitz's article in IndieWire about a video called Alfonso Cuarón Tells Cinematographer Ed Lockman How He Shot Roma remarks that in the video, Cuarón explains that Roma represents his childhood. This research focused on the cultural poetics of the cinematic narrative. Hermeneutics calls for action. Investigating critical hermeneutics offers an approach that is very different from traditional hermeneutics. Previous research and background for this book concern my recent publication, Hermeneutics, Metacognition, and Writing. Published in 2020, I experience the tragic hubris and explain how the movie represents cultural, important films such as Citizen Kane. It is a magnificent film that takes place in settings that are representative of the tragedy that we are going to be experiencing. We interpret the aesthetic of the film through hermeneutics and semiotics. Cleo is a tragic figure. In the beginning of the movie, we find Cleo cleaning the foyer of the home where she is a domestic servant. The repetitive nature of water reveals the symbolism of life and death at a time in Mexico City. The plot and characterization are meant to juxtapose against the backdrop of political turmoil and death. The dialogue alludes to death as well. A simple young woman, Cleo, with hopes and dreams, is lost because her boyfriend destroys her life by threatening her. He cannot take care of her child, and her baby is eventually stillborn. This tragic flaw is symbolic and crucial to understanding the 21st century. The magic of film is important to the aesthetics of a culture. The film is a 2-hour and 14-minute black and white. It ignites vivid emotional portraits of the domestic worker's journey, Cleo. She helps Antonio and Sofia take care of their 4 children. Complications arise when Antonio suddenly runs away with his mistress, and Cleo finds out that she's pregnant. When Sofia decides to take the kids on a vacation, she invites Cleo for a much-needed getaway to clear her mind and bond the family. The film was released in November 21st, 2018 in the United States of America. The director is Alfonso Cuarón. The film won an Academy Award for Best International Feature Film in 2019, and the director won 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Director and one for Best Cinematography. The phenomenon of film writing is important because the film is a sign or a signifier of cultural poetics of the past that may indicate a vision of our future. Obviously, the film is based upon the sign of darkness and tragedy of the human condition. The film Roma takes place on cultural issues, and the cultural issues are seen in many, many different venues, such as the violence that occurs in Mexico City at the time. So cultural poetics is the process of looking at the memory of the director and interpreting his past in Mexico City, his imagination to craft a film that will present the 21st century aesthetic. And I apply these cultural poetics, a form of literary analysis and concentration on history. I apply the film into my own life and look into this importance of why I understand that the Corpus Christi massacre, which occurs 1 hour and 33 minutes into the film, dramatically affects me as a viewer. The framework of hubris or tragic fa fuses our concentration on signs and interpretations, and we envision the characters in a creative process to offer a transformation. The film is also a global literary masterpiece. I also believe that Cleo uses water to clean as a metaphor for place and space that she portrays in the film. Roma, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, tells the story of a character who embodies certain characteristics of him. And he is a masterpiece at designing and investigating the useful social functionality of film, as well as the theoretical processes of the filmmaker regarding the power of writing film and using film for cultural change. The conceptual frameworks of the metaphysics of presence, deconstruction, and metaethics ethos seek to resolve questions of human morality by defining concepts of good and evil. And the basic formula comes from Plato's Phaedo as a backdrop to our efforts to write and create film. Literacy applied to knowledge and mechanisms form our film goals. And film writing is a human right. And using art in this essential space to review the human creative instinct. Space is the study of diversity, understanding global perspectives, cultural awareness of diverse peoples through analytical structures. So we cry out with our civil voices, let us be committed to radical compassion.